So I only say that to help you. And now I'm going to do a little measurement. Remember that the Aleph, there's leeway with the Aleph because it can be placed in different places. We got 7. 7's a go. We could have 8. We could have 6. And look at this. Praise the Lord. I made it. And then last week we did also, I think I showed you this, how sometimes when I'm worried that my ink is too wet, I just kind of dash it on my finger to take away the excess. And I'm going to make an Aleph. It doesn't have to be as long, but it should be at least 6 nuqtas across. See, I start to run it out of ink there at the end. And the more I touch it up on the spot, the more I'm going to make a mess of it, which is why, you know, things go back and get touched up pretty frequently. So let's do a measurement. You guys all remember the 5, right? And that this is really pretty much the same shape. It's sort of like take that ba and squeeze it in a little bit. Okay. Then we did a lam. So remember how this head is much more like a diamond. It's longer than it is wide, and it's kind of, you know, slanting slightly. I'm going to do it again, slightly to the left. And then we start right inside of it. And then we come straight down. So that coming straight down is like a little hook on which we begin the next stroke. Did I do it? Did I make it? Should we take bets? Well, might be a little bit wide, but my eyeballs tell me it's acceptable. See how there's like a tiny little bit of extra there? And so then we're going to go back and we're going to make another Aleph head, I'll call it. It's not always used for an Aleph. And I'm coming to a point, and now I'm going to take that same plunge like I did with the noon, and then I'm going to come around. And remember how this is very round. You can see my little bit of hesitation coming up. That's probably the trickiest part, is the coming up, because you want it to be round, like very much round, like there's a ball here. And you generally, you can't see, right? Your pen is like in the way. Yeah? I can't hear you guys, so you can be cursing me and moaning and groaning all you want. Okay. Well, last week, I have to keep looking at my cheat sheet. So we did the Ras, right? We did all 3 Ras? Yes, okay, thank you for shaking your head there. Okay, now I'm leaving that there. I would probably come back in and thicken this up just a little bit. But that was a sound letter. I was happy with it, which doesn't often happen. So we have kind of a big circle there, and we have a smaller circle here. I don't know how much measuring I did last week, but you want 2 tight nuqtas there. Here's another thing you can do, is you can put a nuqta there and a nuqta there. And what you want to get is kind of that same slant. Sorry, can you guys hear the motorcycles outside my house? You want generally that same horizon line slant, you know, so what is that, like 7 degrees up, 5 to 7 degree pitch. If you feel like you're going to fall downhill when you do that, then it's too steep. So the next raw also went back to that nice little diamond head and made a slightly shorter. See how we're straight in this stroke. You know, it's less than 2 nuktas. And so when it's like 1.5 nuktas, we pull the stroke straight down. And it makes this natural little hook to which we put our pen at that 80-degree angle. And I have to say, I have always found this stroke challenging. Anybody else? And I'm not thrilled with that. I'm going to do it again. See how I'm really coming down? It looks like a curve, but it's just going from this, let's say, 10-degree off of 90 slant. And then you come down and that's the hook. And this is a long stroke. Yeah, I'm happier with this one. And the fact is, I'm rolling. See, I'm literally rolling. And it's a little mushy and gushy. I mean, it's a little sloppy. This one's probably a little better. The fact that it's jagged there is fine. You can go back in and clean that up. What's important, let's see if I can do this, is that you see how it's curved? A little bit in here. You know, it looks very straight, but there's actually a slight curve. That's all. That's what's important. Let me just move my inkwell. And that should be no more than 6 nuktas. And then the last Ra shape has that same beginning as the previous Ra, the straight Ra. And then look what we do. We make, you know, I think I told you guys I'd get the terms for these different curves, and I lied, and I apologize. I, in fact, spoke to my teacher today, and I forgot to ask him. I'm less into the names of things than the inner reality, than just like making it, doing it correctly, like you can see it. So those are the 3 tails, basically. I mean, this has been doubled to the Ra. So what we're going to do now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce something. I feel like everything's slightly slanted here, but I apologize and I don't want to touch anything. Now, just watch me. I'm going to make one, then I'm going to make it in sections. And I know probably most of you have done this before. Okay, that's not a perfect wow head, but so what do we have? We have this option, right? This round option, just like one of the Ra tails. And we want to make sure it's 4. And I have a tendency, yeah, it's in the ballpark, but it's a little big. And then we can add this same wow head or fa head. It's a little wider. I'm going to make a fa now, and then I'm going to examine the head a little bit more in depth. You see, now we're adding the bottom of the ba. And I have a feeling that's more than 6 nuktas, but we'll see. Because you guys somehow, for some reason, I love you all, but I get nervous in front of the camera. Okay, no, we're all right. We're all right. So the fa head can be a challenge. I mean, there's no question. I've worked on it for 1,000 years. So what I want to show you is you have the stroke that I would call the chin stroke. I'm holding my nib on a 90-degree high angle. And I'm going to come up a little bit, and it's an S curve, but I still think of it like a chin. It's like my little cat's chin. It's not like my chin. My chin's like on a slant. I don't like that one. I'm going to do it again, and I'll tell you why I don't like it. It comes up, goes straight across, and then has to curl up a little bit. I would say this is a little sharper than this part. I don't know if that makes any sense. Onto this, I'm now going to slant my pen back maybe 85 degrees. So you sometimes get that little wart. Now you want to think about the triangle shape and then coming down and going back slowly to a 90-degree angle. See, you're not seeing this straight. All right. No, I can't. There, that's better. Now let's see if we can move that back. I'm so professional, aren't I? What I'm looking for is, a straight line there. And then if I would put a, corner there, there's just a little, see that? And the inside really looks like a human eye. So for those of you who are isolating completely alone, it's an opportunity to look into an eye. You want that head to be 2 nuktas. Now, you have that little bit of ink sticking out there. I'm sure I've shown you this before. If that happens, I hope it's still not wet, you come in later. You just scratch it off. Isn't that nice? I don't want to encourage a whole lot of letter cleaning up for beginners, because as beginners, you have to learn to make the letter. It's better to make a bad letter and see what's wrong with it than worrying about cleaning it up. You don't, cleaning up calligraphy to me is like the bane of my life. I didn't get into this to be a cleaner, I wash dishes every day, okay? Like that's my cleaning. I cleaned underneath my kitchen sink. It's disgusting. It was disgusting. That's enough cleaning. I want to have fun here. So you guys are all on mute, so you'll have an opportunity to ask questions. But see this first stroke? See this second stroke? See, I tend to slant it back a little bit, and I come down, and I'm going to go over that. This should really go down below a little bit so it has, again, that hook. And then you're going to make your tail. So let me do this again with, there's actually 3 letters with this head. And I know you all know what they are. So I already did the wow, right? And then I did the fa. So I'm getting a lot of ink here. Now I'm going to make a qaf. So I'm making that chanak shape, the same one as the noon and the lam. And the qaf would have 2 nuqtas above it. I love this letter. And I'm going to count, because that's what I do. We made it. Praise the Lord. All right, I don't know how the time is. I'm going to do 3 more letters. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move down here, and I want you to watch me. So just watch me at first. Stroke 1, stroke 2. Like we're sort of, I'm not happy with that. We're departing we're making some letters that do have some repetition, but they also have some like new, totally new elements. So probably many of you know that that's the letter seen, but it's not the complete letter seen because at this point, we're adding that chanak, or noon curve. Once again, praise the Lord. But let's measure and make sure. So I'm going to talk about these individual strokes. And I know I'm repeating myself from other classes, but thank you. Great Spirit, Allah, God. So, yeah, when I dip my pen in a little bit of water to change ink colors, it makes it often more moist. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about this scene. So it's like if we dissect it, which is such a weird thing to do because if you saw these strokes separate like this, would you have any idea what they were? You can't answer me. You guys have been muzzled. Right? Like those are the strokes of a scene. And try as you might, you gotta stop there because look, I overlap a little. I'm sort of coming straight to the side and then it's a tight curl up. And what you want to think about is a nukta being inside of that. And you don't bring this one all the way up. You then put your pen so that you're extending that and then you're making this kind of, to me, it's like a wave stroke. I think about like waves on the ocean. It's maybe a little bit big. And again, I don't bring it up to this line, but I'm going to now overlap that with that one. Okay, so I'll tell you right now, this should be 1.5. Technically, it's 1.5. It's a little on the big side. I would redo that. Shall I? Yes. Can't seem to talk and work at the same time. Yeah, that's probably a millimeter of difference, but so we're going to have 1.5 here. We're going to have 1 here. It's tight, but I'm not thrilled with this. I think it's a little short. We've got our Halloween colors going here. It's acceptable. So you want this and this parallel. I'm slightly imperfect. I guess that's 1.5 because it's not, it's less than 2, clearly. All right. None of you, this is all review for all of you. Just checking my cheat sheet to make sure. Looking, and this is very wet. Have to check my name, make sure I can remember who I am, what day it is. So I'm going to fluff this up a little. I thought, I have a friend whose birthday's May 10th, and I thought today was the 11th. So I was sending her a belated birthday, and I was so thrilled that I wasn't late. Okay, we are going to slant our tip back, the nib of our pen, probably to at least 80, maybe even like 85. Let's say 80. And I'm coming up about a 45-degree angle up, and then I'm going to curve, and I'm coming back on about a 45-degree angle, but this is very rounded, right? And I'm only going to come back because so now we're getting our thick pen, right? And I'm going to kind of leave myself a little bit on the bottom here. You know, this is right here, that measurement. It's 2 nuqtas. And look how I sweep down and then I start to sweep up, right? And it's, you know, shades of the same thing that happens with the scene. And okay, so this is not big enough, to be perfectly honest. It should be 1.5 high. So learning experience. I think that's better, but we'll see. So I'm putting half my pen over that bottom tip. And I would say this stroke here, and I bet you, and I'm going to thicken that up. Anika would probably agree with me. That's better, but it should even be higher still. But what I want to say is this stroke here is really important because it's actually slanted or it's angled down. It's sloping. It's not sloping too much, but it shouldn't slope too little. How do you like that? You got to be like Goldilocks. You got to find the one that's just right. Now, I'll tell you something. I've decided that the reason I'm not very good at making sods is because it's not a frequent letter. Like, it's not used a lot in Arabic, it seems to me. So this is better. It could even be higher still. And we know, because I showed you that we got our 2 nuqtas here, and they're actually this upward slant should be 3, which I did, because I mean, like, there's our highest, but that might need to be a little steeper. So then we've come up and now we make this stroke down. So how long is this stroke? 2.5 or 2, you know, 2 and a bit. And then we overlap there a little bit and we follow up with our chanak. And my ink was getting light. I may not have mushed and gushed enough. And this may be wider than 5, but then again, are you guys stressed out doing this? No, right? It's probably all very calm and soothing. Make me do all the work. That's why I make the big bucks. So the thing about so we just did this sod. So I'm going to do the ta down here. The ta is really, it's kind of like you stepped on this, the top of that. How do you like that image? So it's flatter. And this part here is a little bit shorter. And I didn't start low enough. So let me do that again. I'm going to just redraw that. I'm going to do this again, but I just want you to see how that curve on your Aleph joins in a little bit, you know, before this comes down. Here we want 1 nuqta. And the other thing is we want 3 there, which we did. It's just I started a little high. So shall I do that again just to please myself? So see, it's yeah, now I have to start that. You know, there's always some letter that gives you a problem. This is terrible. So let me do it again. I'm going to do it down here so I don't smudge anything. I'm just going to pretend you guys aren't there. I'm going to look at one of my cheat sheets. It's not a cheat sheet in my own exemplar. So I'm less tense and I'll breathe in deeply. Here, we can all look at Shevki Effendi's taw. See that taw after the sod? So here, let me do that. It's always good to refresh your eyes by looking at good calligraphy. So see how there's like kind of a little square, and see how this, you know, I've rolled, and when I come back to clean it, I'm gonna make that a, but do you see how this is coming down? And I want to aim my Elif so that it, you know, curls and joins in.